Hey guys, it's Erica. I want to talk about communication today in all relationships, not just romantic partnerships. Um, Obviously, everyone knows communication is vital to be able to foster an intimate connection with another human being, is to genuinely seek to understand, to seek to learn, to grow, and to have oftentimes even difficult communication and conversations with the intent to understand. And I want to bring this forth because what you guys know on this channel, part of my work is to help paint the picture of what healthy relationship dynamics really are and can be in all relationships, not simply romantic ones, and to contrast that with relationships that are more based in our conditioning, our shadow energies, and even codependent patterns. And I think the more that, and again, the more that I can share and show you and explain the difference, the more that you'll be able to think back and reflect back on your experiences and say, is this the type of relationship that I have? Do I want to have this type of relationship? And what can I do to be better, to go towards the relationship that I desire? And one of these ways is in the energy of communication. I'm reminded of a quote from the School of Nonviolent Communication. And the quote goes something like, when you're communicating, are you trying to build a wall or a bridge? Like, words can either be a wall or a bridge. And so often in unhealthy relationship dynamics, we are so striving to be heard and understood that we literally tune out actively listening to what the other person has to say or what the other person is actually saying. How often, realistically, if you really are honest with yourself, in a conversation that's uncomfortable, are you literally almost like, I just want to get my point across because they're misunderstanding me, and you're forgetting to actively listen to what they are saying, the other person is saying to you? Are you patiently being quiet, not saying anything until it's your turn to speak? Or are you actively listening to what your partner has to say and then reflecting it back to them to make sure that you understand correctly? Because sometimes in communication, someone is saying something to you and you're hearing it based on your wounding. You're hearing it based on what you think they're saying. You're hearing it based on what someone in the past said to you when you were growing up that made you feel a certain way. And you may jump to the conclusion that you think you know what that person is actually saying, and they're not actually saying that. So really healthy relationship dynamics involve a lot of active listening and active communicating, where it's, instead of speaking to get your point across, imagine speaking in a way that reflects back what your partner has just said to you, in a way to check that you interpreted and heard them properly. This is a very important step that a lot of people do not do. Now, it may sound, it's always, I can just hear the objections now where it's like, oh yeah, there's one of those processes of where you have to say, if I hear you correctly, this is what I think you're saying. Well, yeah, there's a reason there are quote unquote processes that come up in therapy or in counseling or in, personal growth workshops that are really intended to get you out of your patterns. So when you're speaking with your partner, are you genuinely seeking to create a bridge, or are you putting up a wall by what you're saying? The bridge is, where can we find the common ground? Where can we find mutual understanding? We both had different experiences here in this scenario. I want you to understand mine. I would like to understand yours. Where can we come together with this? And you know what? There are some times where this is a really important litmus test in relationships, is how is your communication when things get a little difficult? A lot of my work is on the shadow and helping people understand their unconscious shadow And in these conversations that are highly charged energetically and emotionally is where our shadows will likely duke it out more than our souls will. It's like the shadow, the inner child shadows start fighting it out with each other and nobody's getting anywhere. So with that, how have you worked on yourself when it comes to your communication? What have you learned about communication and triggers and getting somewhere actually actively in conversation that has helped you in your relationships, your romantic relationships, your friendships, your family relationships? I'd love to hear from you on this topic of heartfelt, active listening in conversations, in communication with people in order to really understand. Or do you really, if you think back, do you more operate from the ego's perspective of, I want to be understood? Because a lot of people, it's a real visceral inner child part of them that never felt heard or understood when they were little. And so they fight tooth and nail to be heard and understood in relationships, to the point where it can form a wall, like build a wall between you and someone else. So anyway, just some food for thought. If this video has helped you, or if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It helps other people find the channel. I would really appreciate it. And until next time, bye.